Jacob and Michael.
Hey everybody, welcome to Back in Toons. This episode we'll be discussing 4 films from Warner Brothers. It's going to be sort of Warner Brothers. It's a weird story. So before we get into that, I am Michael and Jacob's on the other end.
What's up, Derek?
I should say that no, Pagemaster is not a Warner Brothers movie, but the studio that produced it eventually got eaten up by Warner Brothers. So that's why I should correct myself. So this episode is a movie special. We haven't done one of these in a while. It's going to be The Pagemaster, Cats Don't Dance, and Quest for Camelot, and Osmosis Jones. Whew,
Yes.
I don't know. I can't believe I got winded. I'm getting old. I'm getting too old for this shit, Riggs.
Oh, come on, man. Don't think like that. You still got a few years left in you. You have no broken bones, man. You didn't stay up all night.
I don't want to
crack
kill
binge.
you, and you won't be dead.
Not yet, damn it. I got so much to live for.
Alright, so I have never seen any of these movies except for Cats Don't Dance. I saw part of. Halfway through once on the HBO free weekend back in the 90s. So these are all brand new to me. And
Right.
Pagemaster, I started thinking about it because Macaulay Culkin's been popping his face up again in social media and been doing some videos with the Angry Video Game Nerd. And they did an episode
Right.
where they played the Pagemaster video game, and I was like, fuck, I completely forgot about that. And I looked it up, and actually there's a few movies towards the end I completely forgot about. For me, it ended with The Good Son. But I didn't know that he did a Nutcracker. Like a filmed version of the Nutcracker. He did the Pagemaster, Getting Even with Dad, and the Richie Rich movie, which I completely forgot about.
I know. It's been so long, dude. Honestly, as a kid, I loved Richie Rich, and I probably would still like it as an adult. I mean, considering how it was based off of the old animated cartoon from, 1950s?
I actually don't know. I thought it was on a cartoon strip by King's Feature. And this is going to come up on Back in Toons sooner or later because we're going to do a special about cartoons like that. God, there's so many more. We really thought we were going to end it at 150, but I looked and we're at 147 now. And I'm like, I still got a huge notebook filled with movies and cartoons to discuss. And it's either going to be part of the Ruby Spears Hanna-Barbera thing, or we'll do one based on comic strips. I should look that up, but it'll come up eventually because Richie Rich was a cartoon I watched a lot as a kid.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was kind of hard, not to like. Of course, this just goes to show how rich. Well, this kid's so rich. Well, at least the premise of the movie was they have their own country, their own president. I'm like, is this their way to avoid taxes? I mean, they look like they take care of everybody. They're like the dreams of how we wish billionaires would be.
He's a poor little rich kid. Whoa, whoa.
He has no friends, oh no.
So I didn't realize what had gone on in the last chunk of his career. And, I know he did a couple movies in the 2000s, like Saved and Party Monster, stuff like that. But for the most part, he's disappeared. So it's just kind of funny reflecting back on this period of time when he was red hot. And he could get, I bet you he probably got paid $5 million for a week of work. Maybe 3 days of filming live action and then 3 days of doing audio recordings. I don't know how that works, actually. Right. Audio might take a lot longer to do that for a film. But
True.
He didn't have to do as much work as he would for, say, Home Alone 2, So he probably got a nice big paycheck. This is when his dad was being a monster and demanding huge paychecks for him, like $8 million, $10 million, stuff like that. So I honestly, I don't know if he ever has to work again unless he finds something interesting if he saves his money.
Right, yeah. No, I mean, as far as it goes, as a kid, I think it's because his parents were kind of screwing him over as far as management goes. Pretty much taking all his money and, leaving him high and dry, not leaving him shit. I think that's what happened, if I remember correctly. I don't know. It's been a while. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that happened between kid actors and their parents.
Yeah, but I believe by the time that
her parents and all that.
I'm almost certain in 89 or 88, that kid that was in The Courtship of Eddie's Father, he was in Entertainment Weekly or Us Magazine or something. I remember reading an article saying that he finally got it cleared with the union that if you're a child, that a certain chunk of it goes into savings until you hit 18, your parents cannot touch it. Because of the nightmares that you saw so many times with Gary Coleman and stuff like that, where they had to sue to separate from their parents, which is get emancipated. And so I'm pretty sure that Macaulay Culkin was protected, but it doesn't mean that his dad wasn't a complete fucking monster. And I'm betting by the time that Richie Rich came around that everybody involved with Macaulay Culkin was just tired, except for his own dad, who was like, I'm going to milk this kid for all he's worth.
Pretty much, yeah, he did. But as far as it goes for Pagemaster, yeah, it was, again, as you were mentioned earlier, like eaten alive by Warner Brothers. And they ended up taking over the project. Quite frankly, I mean, it was a classic for me as a kid. I loved it. And again, I thought it was beautiful animation. It almost, I thought at first it was like Don Bluth, but I was wrong.
Well, all 4 of these movies seem to be heavily influenced by his style. Like, this is not Disney looking. This is Don Bluth looking for sure.
Right. And, looking up at it, like how it was scathed in the reviews, it was a $27 million budget. And it only made like what, 13, 14 million?
Yeah,
like right around there.
The video was huge, man. I think it's because expectations were so high. They had video games. I think they had toys. I don't know. I was too old by then to really notice toys.
I'm not sure about the toys, but I do remember the video game. And regarding this, yeah, though there's a lot of advertisement out there. Like I would definitely see the trailer to like every home video cassette that I would watch, especially if it was Warner Brothers. And yeah, honestly, watching this movie, I immediately fell in love with it. I loved how, of course, it starts off live action. He's like a complete control freak on statistics and all that, and afraid he's a young kid that doesn't like to go outside and play due to all the statistics of getting hurt and all that. And of course, you see Ed Begley Jr. play his father. You see that, the mother's trying to, convince him and all that, try and be a little bit more supportive. But it's like the dad doesn't know what else to do, I mean, he's not neglecting his son. He's just trying to, he's trying to connect with him, but he just doesn't know what level to do it on. I mean, he actually builds a tree house, tries to set that up for him, something normal, but no, it doesn't work at first. And then when it cuts to the animation going into the library with the beautiful introduction by Christopher Lloyd. I mean, honestly, I wish there was a librarian that was that enthusiastic. Librarian. It's like a grand masterpiece cinema show. Like, someone at a, just about before you like enter in the Barnum Bailey Circus, the original building and all that. What's the word I'm looking for? Never mind. You get the idea.
Okay.
But yeah. That's just how Christopher Lloyd's presence was throughout the entire moment that he was there. But then he realizes he's just hiding from the storm. He's like, oh, okay, never mind. All right, it's just back there. And then, boom, all of a sudden he slips, falls, and then he comes into the world of animation. And again, I thought it was just a beautiful sequence. Did not look cheap at all. It didn't look like they held back or tried to budget some of these clips and snips here and there. Especially when you see the power, especially when you see the power of the Bucks, as soon as he opens it, like the Hound of the Baskervilles, all of a sudden this ferocious dog comes out, and I thought that, oh man, there's gonna be, oh gosh, I knew I was gonna be in for a good adventure.
It's funny. So we were talking about this earlier. Technically, Warner Brothers owns only the international and television rights. Fox still owns the theatrical and home video rights, and this is because Ted Turner had started his own animation division. He had bought up Hanna-Barbera, and Warner Brothers. He was buying up all his animation because he knew it would be good for television. And he started doing movies in '93. I think his first one was Gettysburg, which cost him his ass, and it's so bizarre that he did a sequel, which really cost his ass. But he did an animation division, not be able to afford to distribute it. That's why he sold it to Fox. But because he also absorbed Warner Brothers and stuff like that, and then vice versa. Wait, he didn't buy Warner Brothers. No, I can't remember. I know he bought the catalog for MGM, and then I think he did buy Warner Brothers. But then they got separated for some reason, and then Warner Brothers ended up eating Turner Entertainment Company, just folded into their own. So that's why they have a lot of television rights. But the next project was Cats Don't Dance, which started off as Turner Entertainment, but then got absorbed into Warner Brothers. So it's really that's how this whole thing flows. This is really a Warner Brothers film episode where we discuss the stuff they were doing in the 90s and early 2000s. before they shut down their animation division, and it's really odd. So I had to include Pagemaster because it's really where all of this starts.
Yes. Oh, yeah, exactly. It did come out before Cats Don't Dance. Didn't that come out, like, what, mid to late 90s? Like, what, 97?
Yeah, it was, I want to say it was spring break of 97. But before we get to that, I want to say real quickly, the Pagemaster, so the live-action sequences were directed by Joe Johnston of Rocketeer fame, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Captain America.
And the first Captain America.
Yeah,
yes.
And then the Maurice Hunt did the animation, and he isn't really a well-known name. He did a lot of stuff for Disney, like character design. He did a couple cartoons, the Adventures of Ed Grimley, Foofer. And no one remembers Foofer, but I used to watch that all the time as a kid. Not big names in animation. David Kirshner, oddly enough, most people know him now, not from the animation that he did. They know him as the creator of Chucky.
Oh, yeah, that's... Oh my God, that's awesome! Oh yeah, looking back, yeah, shit.
Now
I thought that name sounds so familiar.
You said that this looked like it was Don Bluth animation. Now here's the thing: is that David Kirshner actually started off with Bluth. He worked on American Tail and Land Before Time.
Awesome! Oh, that's cool to know. You can definitely tell there was, as far as like character style too, especially with Macaulay Culkin's facial features. He definitely looked like something you'd see like in Titan AE or Anastasia.
Yeah. I mean, obviously not the same director, but you can clearly, I'm almost certain that Kirshner probably brought some people over from that. But he would work on and off with Don Bluth anyway. While doing this, he was also doing the Halloween Tree and Hocus Pocus, Once Upon a Forest. He did Titan AE, so he was kind of intertwined with Bluth. I don't think he was a full partner. It's just when it was convenient for them, they worked together. He did the Curious George movie, too.
Oh, wow.
Actually, he did a lot more than I thought he did. Look at this. Okay, so for television, he was behind Gravedale High, which was the Rick Moranis cartoon, the Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures, the Pirates of Dark Water, the Addams Family, the Five Little Tale, Capital Critters, Fish Police. That's crazy.
I'm happy. Oh my God, I'm happy to know that right now. I didn't know that. Okay, so one quick question I have to ask about Ted Turner. Exactly how his ass was gone after all that shit he went through. Like this, it's got to be weird for him to sit down.
Yeah, well, he had a colorized ass put in. That's what happened. He had a black and white ass installed and realized it wasn't going to work, so he had it colorized.
Oh, good. Yeah, and regarding Pagemaster, it's like, how do you think it was the reason that it could have flopped? I mean, have you seen what some of the old critics have said?
Yeah, I saw. Plus, '94 was a really weird Christmas season. There was so much competition. And the fact that Macaulay Culkin was starting to become a little unpopular, I can see why it was fading. Plus, this movie is over before it even starts. I feel like it was truncated. Like, it's half an idea. I almost feel like Turner said, well, we only have this much money. $27 million, I guess, is decent for 94, but clearly not top shelf.
No, and it was only like an hour and 50. My only problem with the movie is that it was too short. I mean, I did love the sequences, and all the appearances. Like, when you first meet Leonard Nimoy, all of a sudden he's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Oh, gosh, that was just like a holy shit, run for your life. And then you also have the rest of the supporting cast with Patrick Stewart, Whoopi Goldberg, and Frank Welker, who's in fucking everything. I know. But I did like him. I did watch Christopher Robin recently, which is the live-action movie. It was really, it kicks you right in the childhood. It makes you just want to choke up. But anyway. Yeah, no, just going through all the different sequences and the different adventures that those, of course, all the books were named, horror, adventure, and fantasy. I just wish there was a little bit more time in fantasy. I felt like, it was really cool to see, the whole ballet, little electric fairies.
Uh-huh.
But I'm like, there's got to be a little bit more to it. And then, but again, being trying to fighting was classic, classic fantasy kind of setting. Knights fighting dragons. And there should have been more sequences with the books because, one opening the Hound of the Baskervilles and then opening up the Beanstalk to get out of the dragon. I was like, they could have done that. They could have done some. Well, then again, they were at sea. They couldn't have done anything with the books on Treasure Islands. They were kind of screwed with that. But Every other moment they could have used that. They could have done something.
Yeah.
They should have done
This is probably
emphasized more on that.
this is probably the weakest of the four for me. I don't think I'd ever watch this one again. But it's not a bad movie. But I'm at that point in my life where I just like there's so many things to watch that is not on my list of rewatches.
Yeah. To me, again, it just needed to be longer.
Yeah. Well, most animation
I
movies
needed
are
to-
really short. It's strange to find one that even hits 2 hours. I think A, it's because kids lose their patience, and B, animation's so expensive. And this is during an era where animation always had kind of a ceiling, a cap on how much it would make. You know, they're like, well, it'll make this much, possibly, and then on video, then television rights, we got to keep the budget low. So that also has to curb costs.
True. And it wasn't Disney, too, so.
No, yeah, Disney was the pinnacle. This is one of the studios. Well, this is after Disney had its big revival in '89 with Little Mermaid, but it wasn't until like Aladdin is when everybody else is like, hold a second, let's start our own animation divisions. But animation divisions take forever. So this movie is filled with live action. It's also filled with early CGI, which is impressive. The paint pouring from the ceiling, I really liked.
Yes, that I wanted to mention.
And this is before CGI really took over. It would be another year before Toy Story debuted. But, then it took everybody else like 6 years to start their own CGI divisions. We didn't get, Ants was from Pixar. No, it was from DreamWorks in 98. That's one of the first studios to really compete in that field. But, hand-drawn animation was the thing still for another decade. And I think Cats Don't Dance is top-tier animation that nobody seems to know about.
Yes.
This is Warner Brothers really just firing on all cylinders, classic animation. Yes, there's some Don Bluth style animation, but a heavy classic Warner Brothers. You got influences from Friz Freleng and Chuck Jones in this.
Yes, of course. And all the tributes to, classic Hollywood. And overall, again, it was in memoriam of Gene Kelly.
Yeah. Who did contribute to this? He designed a lot of the dance sequences.
Oh, yes, of course. My God. Him and Fred Astaire were like the two biggest dancers in Hollywood history and performing.
Yeah.
It's honestly, every Fred Astaire, I'm more of a Gene Kelly fan. Like, no offense to Fred Astaire. But
not as appealing. Better actor, probably, than Gene Kelly, but Gene Kelly just had so much more charm.
Yes, of course. And that's what it was. I mean, from Singing in the Rain to, the Sailor one. The one he did with Frank Sinatra where he...
Anchors Away.
Yeah, Anchors Away. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, to that. Again, I absolutely love Gene Kelly's work. And then knowing that it was a tribute to Gene Kelly, it made me love the movie even more.
Yeah.
I have to say, though, about the little girl, though, I have to say, she was pretty much Shirley Temple on crack.
Yeah.
She was very
well,
evil. I'm pretty sure she was the...
Yeah, a mixture of that and Elmira, and what was that baby from Roger Rabbit?
Oh, gosh, yeah, Baby Herman?
Baby Herman, yeah. It's like a combination of all that stuff to make like this truly psychotic villain.
Yeah, and she looked like Baby Doll from the Batman animated series.
Yes! And here's the thing, is the movie's legitimately funny, which a lot of these animation movies are too stuck in their wonder to be actually funny. This is before the revolution in animated movies where they really started focusing on the comedy stuff.
Right. And, of course, it was, again, like, the theme, of course, was discrimination. Again, these animals wanted to be something bigger than what they were. And, they really wanted to be the stars of the show. But no, nobody would give them for them. Because, one, you had, people like, what's her name? The main villain. Baby Doll. Oh, gosh. Anyway.
In Cats Don't Dance. Sorry, I missed a beat. I was reading something, and I apologize. I don't even know what the baby's name was now. Hold on. I watched 4 of these right in a row because I'm a dipshit and I didn't prepare ahead of time. It was Darla Dimple.
Darla. Yeah, Darla, but of course, was just sabotaging them. And she didn't want to lose the spotlight. Of course, like a lot of stars do. You see that in even in The Artist. At the beginning, like, he doesn't want to introduce his co-star. He wants all the spotlight on him. And he's like, giving them all a show. And again, there's that, and nobody thought I would take him seriously until this one guy took a risk and decided to just improv this whole like sing and dance show right in front of everybody, and boom, it took off. All those animal actors got famous, like the old goat. He starred in Casablanca.
That's a Hal Holbrook, by the way. My professor in college, his one thing that he always tells stories about was he used to live in Texas, and he worked
Right.
at the studio where Hal Holbrook was working on his Mark Twain, his infamous Mark Twain, road show that he would do, and this is where he started doing the workshopping of the character. And one of his proteges on it was a very young Val Kilmer, who had to quit to go shoot Top Secret.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so my professor did the makeup for Hal Holbrook until Hal Holbrook figured out that it's much easier and cheaper to do the makeup himself.
True. But damn, dude, that was good enough. And it does, yeah, because I think I remember Val Kilmer doing like Mark Twain at one point.
Oh yeah, he's taken over.
Like, not-
Hal Holbrook, I'm not even sure he's still alive. I think he has to be close to retirement if he is still alive. But yeah, no, that's what Val Kilmer does all the time now is he plays Mark Twain. He's done it like 4 times now if you look at his IMDb credits, and that's just in film. I don't know what he's done on stage. I'm a little concerned. He looks kind of sickly, but it almost might be for the role because Mark Twain was pretty thin.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely have to look into it.
Now,
But,
do you know the
again-
whole history of this movie, like the tortured production of all this?
Do tell me.
Okay, so it started off early 90s. Michael Jackson still red hot, coming off Dangerous. I know it's a terrible name to bring up right now. Definitely terrible to bring up right now. But it started off as a film for him that he was going to do the choreography, the music, and design, and it was all going to be a vehicle for him. Like he was going to voice the cat. And then it just kept changing and changing and changing. It became impossible to work with him. And so he bailed out, which there's so many movies back then. I remember he was supposed to be in a movie about Edgar Allan Poe and stuff like that. And, there's that tortured Ghosts movie. Do you know the Ghost movie that Mick Garris directed? It was like a 20-minute film with a video in it.
Yes.
So that, one of those things where for some reason Michael Jackson would not release it. It was the most expensive video ever made, but he wouldn't release it. It sat on the shelf for like a decade. It was just ridiculous.
Damn.
So eventually, they changed the entire production team. They went to Gene Kelly to help design the sequences. They had people cast in it, but changed their mind because they were too expensive, or the director went a different. So originally, it was supposed to be Matthew Broderick as the main character, but then Scott Bakula got cast because he was more affordable, apparently. Renee Zellweger was actually originally supposed to be Sawyer. And then it was supposed to be Natalie Cole, and Natalie Cole did all the voice work and all the songs, and then they realized they didn't care for her voices. So then they cast Jasmine Guy, but they kept the songs. That's why when Jasmine Guy's character goes to sing, it does not match. It's because Natalie Cole took over.
Oh, yeah. I did think, well, I mean, of course, the animation movies are with animation movies, yeah, they would have doubles. I mean, they did that with Quest for Camelot.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't unusual by
they-
any means, but when you cast people who can actually sing, by the way, I'm shocked that Scott Bakula can sing until I looked him up, and before he was ever in, like Quantum Leap and the Gung Ho TV show, he was a Broadway man, so he was a singer and a hoofer.
Well, I mean, Hugh Jackman himself is also a Broadway person, too, so yeah, they've got vocals.
Yeah.
And then you definitely saw that in Les Miserables. And
Yeah, definitely.
Great show.
Originally supposed to be a $25 million production, but with the whole Michael Jackson screw up and the recasting, re-recording, it ended up costing over $30 million. And Warner Brothers just had no interest for some reason. 95 to about 2000 is a really bad period for Warner Brothers because they were more interested in like bulk films. They signed deals with every company under the sun, but if the movie was garbage, they still legally had to release it and spend a certain amount of money on promoting it. But if they had no faith in it, they would just dump it. They did this with so many movies. If you look at the IMDb for Warner Brothers during this era, you'll see maybe half of their movies were like, I don't know what the fuck that is. Trojan War? What's that? There was one with Christopher Lambert and James Caan, which cost a fortune from Regency Films, and they sent it like to 2 screens. It was called North Star, and there's like Steel, and just so many movies during the era.
Oh, it was garbage.
Yeah, they didn't take any time though. They just like, we got 5 movies we're gonna put money behind. The rest are gonna be basically cannon fodder for our HBO, which we partially own. So that's kind of what happened with Cats Don't Dance. I think they saw that, like, look, let's not even promote this thing. Let's dump it over spring break, and it's going to play like crazy on our cable stations.
Well, I definitely, again, me buying like all the Warner videotapes, the new Warner videotapes that had like this thing of Cats Don't Dance. I wanted to see it immediately.
Yeah.
And I still love it to this day.
It's really good. I think I have a connection to it too because Danny's from Kokomo, which wasn't too far from where we lived.
Right. And of course, I love the style. I like looking back at like, old Hollywood.
Oh yeah, that's why we love Dick
Stuff like
Tracy and
that.
Rocketeer
Classic.
and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and of course, again, great color palette. Again, great color paletting, just shading. I mean, it wasn't. You could definitely tell it was old Hollywood, but it wasn't trying to be too real.
No,
And as far as character
the
design
color
goes-
palette is truly amazing in this. It really pops.
Yes, exactly. And of course, the character design, Max, who was Darla's henchman / servant. I couldn't tell. Like, wait, was he a human or was he like a gorilla? I could not tell.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen another movie where there was a character like that was a gorilla. Everything feels kind of familiar. I swear there was a movie with a gigantic gorilla, and it's bugging me to no end. It's one of these movies, and he has a henchman as a giant gorilla. I can't remember what it is.
I want to say Roger Rabbit, like the bouncer.
Is that it? Is that because it's that style? And in this movie, I forgot the other thing I should say. This also has a little bit of Richard Williams influence because Richard Williams did Roger Rabbit and a couple other things. I feel like the director of this did work for.
Right.
Did he? I'm gonna look this up. So, Mark Dindal is not a household name, but the films he worked on, I mean, he was effects animator for all of Disney's movies basically during the 80s. Went over to Filmation for some stupid reason, like they weren't going to go out of business a minute later. So he did Pinocchio and the Emperor of the Night, Brave Star movie, then came back to Disney for all those big productions. Then moved over to the Rocketeer. He did the animation sequence, when the Nazis are flying in the air.
Right.
That's just a moment.
Oh, wow.
But then, after Cats Don't Dance, he went straight back to Disney and did The Emperor's New Groove, which is awesome, Chicken Little, which is highly underrated, Kronk's New Groove, and worked on The Emperor's New School series, Restrung. I don't know that movie, but he's going to be directing the new Garfield animated film. What's Restrung? Oh, it's a documentary. It's about animation, a documentary about animation. Okay, cool.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I had no idea, but yeah, no. Again, some of those Disney, some of those animated movies, like definitely were like classics. Me watching at first, Chicken Little kind of annoyed me because my little brother and sister watched it so many times.
Yeah, I can see that.
We had it on DVD. But then looking back and I'm like, yeah, no, it was pretty cool. And then knowing the cast behind it, with Zach Braff and oh gosh, why am I blanking on his name? Steve Zahn. Yeah, that's it.
Is he in it? I haven't seen Chicken Little in a long time.
Yeah, he's the pig character, and then Joan Cusack as Ugly Duckling, and then there's just that one. But then there's that one fish. Oh no, Fish Out of Water. That was his name. He said nothing, but he was the coolest guy around, and he hung out with Chicken Little and the Losers. But yes, okay, Cats Don't Dance. For me, anyone for like whoever was probably like into classic animation or Hollywood nostalgia, you get a great mix of both.
Yeah. It's my favorite of the bunch. The next one, I'm not so sure about. Quest for Camelot, there's some stuff about it that's truly awesome. I told you like 20 minutes into I thought it was rad, and it derailed a little bit after that, and I was kind of annoyed. Because they Disneyified it. It starts off like a serious action film. You think it's going to be like this real kick-ass animated movie, and then all of a sudden they start throwing in things. I'm like, oh, what? No. Huh?
And the singing. Can't forget the singing.
Yeah, well, I love
Although
the songs.
love
No, the
Eric
songs
Idle.
are fine. I really enjoyed the songs, but what bothered me was the talking axe creature, or whatever that was, and the two-headed dragon. I was like, this isn't even necessary. Why does it have to be like this?
I don't know. I mean, it is a fantasy. Although it was pretty funny to see Don Rickles and Eric Idle like perform together.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always loved Eric Idle since I was a kid. I mean, before I knew of his Monty Python days.
Oddly enough, one is British and one is not, which confused me.
Yeah, but then like watching it, of course. Cary Elwes. I was always a fan of him because I loved Robin Hood Men in Tights, and that's where I knew him before I discovered Princess Bride.
Yeah, I didn't know his brother was a production.
Still...
His brother is a big producer, Cassian Elwes. If you look up his IMDb, it's loaded with films, and they would do some movies together. So he did Princess Bride, but I feel like he disappeared for a little bit. Then he came back with Hot Shots, and then of course Robin Hood Men in Tights, and then so on and so on.
That one with Alicia Silverstone, I can't remember.
The Crush.
Yes, and then he came back in the first Saw.
Yeah, I remember that. And then I think he did a sequel later. I don't know what he's up to now. I missed him. He was up here doing a signing for one of his books, and I missed it. You find out like the day off. You're like, well, shit. By the time we get there, it'll be too late.
Yeah, sadly. I know, and I would have loved him. I mean, God, he is, again, he does have, like, that charm, that charisma, and, of course, his skill with the sword. Like, it was natural to cast him as Robin Hood. But anyway, this animated movie, of course, I've seen so much, publication for it. Again, when I would rewatch VHSs and, Warner Brothers was pushing this out, I actually saw it in theaters, and I loved it since. But again, as you said, like looking at like some sequences now, when I just rewatch it, I'm like, okay, they definitely went cheap on that one because
I don't like the character design. It looks really flat.
That and also like coming into when they're first coming into Camelot and they're all singing, I'm like, wait, what? Okay, why is it kind of like skipping and bouncing like it's only like one page per shot?
Yeah.
That was.
And this is more money. This is more expensive. Warner Brothers. This is a full-on. Now we've switched over. It's no longer Turner. It's full-on Warner Brothers. They've kickstarted their division, and this is a $40 million production, so it wasn't as cheap as Cats Don't Dance. Yet I feel like I got so much more out of Cats Don't Dance, and it's almost as long. I'm gonna guess it's probably the voice acting. They spent more money on the voice actors.
Probably, yeah, because Pierce Brosnan was still hot. He was James Bond, and people went gaga for him, and then there was Carrie Elwes, and then there was Jane Seymour, and not to mention the singers, you had freaking Celine Dion in that cast. I'm like, shit. And, of course, Gary Oldman. Oh, God, I love
that.
Gary
Might have been
Honestly,
it. Also, sometimes with animated movies, if they rush the production, that can be a problem, too, because then you're paying everybody overtime, and that's when it screws things up. The director of this, he started off with Tailspin. Then did that hideous Tom and Jerry movie where they talk for some stupid-ass reason. Did 2 live-action animation mixes, Racing Stripes and Underdog. Other than that, he hasn't worked in a while. I don't know what the Crostons is. I'm going to guess that's French. Fucking French.
I like the French. They invented mayonnaise. And parlay.
I still can't believe that our country is such a bunch of fucking douchebags. They're like, we're not going to call them French fries anymore. Fuck those guys. We'll call them freedom fries.
They seriously don't fucking do that, do they?
They did for a little bit. I want to call these freedom fries.
Oh, fuck.
America.
I'm like, yeah, what the fuck ever, pal. I'm gonna sit back and eat my French fries. Enjoy.
I felt so stupid. I went to a German restaurant the other day, and I was like, what is Palms frites? And he goes, "The Palms frites," or whatever he said. He said those are French fries. I was like, oh, okay. So
I need to brush up them.
Could you just call them French fries then? Why y'all be all fancy and shit? Holy shit, Frank Welker's in this one too? Are you fucking kidding me? It's 3 movies in a row. Because he played the aged in Cats Don't Dance. And now he plays Merlin's pet falcon. Son of a bitch.
And he was horror in The Pagemaster. I know. Yeah. God, like I said, he's in fucking everything.
Wow. I do enjoy the fact that this is beyond Camelot. We always see the same stories about Excalibur and Camelot, and it always seems to end there. This is after the fact, which I thought was interesting.
Yes, of course. It's like you don't have to worry about pulling the sword out of the stone. We get it, King Arthur's king, and how everything was distributed equally except Gary Oldman, I think, because he got a hold of dark magic, which I'm sure was like crack in that world. And he decided he wanted everything because he was so greedy. And they're like, yeah, no, you got to go, pal. Screw you.
Wow, this was also a torture production. I'm looking at this right now. They had 2 different directors, and both of them were removed from the project and put on Space Jam and rushed into production. And then Christopher Reeve was actually supposed to play King Arthur. I remember seeing this in the news because I was wondering how he's going to be able to do it. But during the time that it was stalled, they went and got a new director, and the storyline changed. They had to do re-recording, and by the time they got back to redoing it, Christopher Reeve, he was not doing well, so they had to have Pierce Brosnan come in and re-record the dialogue. That is interesting because some of these animated movies just turn out to be completely different than the way they started.
Well, this is of course after Christopher Reeve got paralyzed, right?
Well, he got cast after being paralyzed, a year after it.
Oh wow! But again, his health just wasn't doing so good. He still had to recover and all that. Is what I'm thinking, right?
Yeah.
Damn, man, shit.
It says here.
Still.
So Iron Giant is the one that we're not going to discuss because I did that 3 years ago in a super large episode where the whole thing is just about Iron Giant.
Right.
Sadly, I didn't do that with you. This is before I became exclusive. That's before it became a serious thing. I was cheating on you. I'm so sorry.
Hey, that was then. This is now. We moved on. We worked it out.
Celebrate this with some champagne. My lovely tulip. No, Brad Bird the Iron Giant was in the middle here of all these movies, and of course that one became a phenomenon and it's much loved now. But at the time, it was kind of ignored because it was rushed out in production, and then dumped in theaters with no commercials except for like the week before. Brad Bird's talking about Warner Brothers, and he says it was just cost overruns like crazy. Every production was a nightmare, and then Warner Brothers started to reconsider doing animated films. But, of course, Iron Giant was probably done by then, and it just kind of said they couldn't get their shit together. They seem to be doing well now. I've seen the Warner Brothers animated films they've been doing the last decade, and they're pretty good, actually.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, especially their DC animated brands. Oh, my God. I loved, both Death and Reign of the Superman.
See, I don't like them. I fucking hate the animation style. It drives me up the wall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I want to like them, but I just keep looking going, they're ugly as shit.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, of course, you're not one for animation style, but as far as it goes for the voice cast and how the story develops,
oh, yeah, that's fine.
I was like, okay, this really still, yeah, that really holds true. And quite frankly, I love the voice casting, too. I mean, Jerry O'Connell as Superman, it definitely fits. He definitely has a great Superman tone. Dude. And then, of course, Rebecca Romijn.
Guess what I forgot to do? There's an animated movie that we skipped. I forgot this was even Warner Brothers because technically it wasn't a Warner Brothers production. It was a Warner Brothers release. This was actually...
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is in 99. This is technically a Warner Brothers film, except it wasn't produced by their animation division. It was a pickup. Morgan Creek Entertainment, mostly known for doing Major League, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Ace Ventura. They did an animated movie called The King and I. And I don't know if we're ever going to discuss this. I guess technically it counts as an independent animation film. We might be able to do a few of those later. But yeah, I didn't realize they did this. Wow.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, 99. I don't think they ever did another animated movie. This one lost a bunch of money too. It's $25 million. This is on the back end of Morgan Creek's success. They hadn't had a successful movie in quite some time. I think the last one was in 95 with Ace Ventura 2. And then it's just a fucking nightmare all the way out. Holy shit, except for the whole 9 yards made money. And then, Battlefield Earth, Soldier, 3,000 Miles to Graceland, Get Carter, American Outlaws, Joanna Man, Exorcist at the beginning, which was such a fucked up production, they actually shot the movie completely over. Yeah, this company isn't even out yet. Yeah, so that's their one animated movie. So I don't know. Okay, so technically I skipped that one. I just don't have any interest in watching it, dude. We're not going to discuss everything animated because some shit just doesn't interest me at all. I keep trying to argue, will I ever do the girly ones, the cutesy ones? Will I do the Snuggles and the Care Bears and the Wuzzles and Get Along Gang?
The Snozwangers, the
Fliggle Floggles, the Bong Wangers, the Dill Boppers.
The Dill Boppers.
No,
I imagine.
I
imagine these pickles dressed up in this kind of 50s, pink ladies, T-birds kind of. Yeah.
You know what? I might do a couple episodes away from you. I might convince my sister to watch all those with me. Let's just do one where we watch all the girly ones, like Strawberry Shortcake and Rainbow Bright.
Well, Rainbow Bright I can get through.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. We'll talk about it.
Maybe. I don't know.
So
it's a risk, I tell you.
That means one day we're going to have to discuss Shrek. We're talking about doing the first decade of DreamWorks. That means we have to watch Shrek again. Fuck.
It's on Hulu. It's on Hulu.
Okay, so our last movie is Osmosis Jones, which is a hell of a lot of fun. not a fully animated movie, so it's a little bit of a
No.
cheat. But there's so much animation.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, no,
and again, I overall really liked it too. I mean, again, Chris Rock was huge, and adding his name to it definitely brought in a lot of people to watch it.
Is it weird this
I
is one
loved
of
it.
his best performances because I don't have to see his face? When he acts, you can see his acting in his face. Like the way he does in Lethal Weapon 4. He's terrible in Lethal Weapon 4. Rarely is he ever calm and casual, and I think that he lets go a bit when he does just voiceover work. So he's more relaxed, and you don't see the acting, the forced mannerisms.
I could definitely see your point. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen Lethal Weapon 4.
It's
Although
brutal.
Chris Rock's just honest. Yeah. Chris Rock is Chris Rock. I mean, I absolutely love him and everything he's done, especially when it comes to comedy.
Pootie Tang.
But again, this oh, fucking Pootie Tang, God.
Side-eye
Don't
tail
even
and
start.
tippy tie.
God damn, fucking Louis C.K. directed that shit.
I know, but hey, separate the art from the artist. You got it. There's no way around her. I'm never gonna be able to watch
No.
I can't watch a Mel Gibson movie then.
Oh no, trust me, I do, and I did. You know, but it was such a shitty movie even before.
I think Pootie Tang is hilarious because it's such a lark. Like you can't believe it got made. Okay, back to Osmosis Jones. So this is when the Farrelly brothers are red hot. They're the hottest people in Hollywood at that moment. You know, they just came off of Something About Mary, which became the hottest comedy in like a decade. Everybody talking about it. Of course, American Pie would surpass it the next year. But then they're like, we can make anything we want. They did Outside Providence, bomb, but it's still a good movie. They did Say It Isn't So, bomb. I can't remember if it's a good movie. Me, Myself, and Irene, which was a script they had sitting in the bottom of their their drawer or whatever for years. No one would do it. And the same thing for what's the one where it's the two of them together? It's Greg Kinnear and Matt, Stuck on You. You know, they're getting everything made that they've been sitting on for years. And Osmosis Jones is kind of like Osmosis Jones is a weird one. What'd you say?
Oh, Fever Pitch was another one with
Fever Pitch. Yeah, this is during the era when they're really hot and they haven't lost their steam. You know, The Ringer, stuff like that. Shallow Hal.
Oh, wow.
Shallow Hal, I think, was out later this year.
Yeah, no, of course. But Osmosis Jones, yeah, no, there was a lot of like really smooth kind of blend of computer-generated imagery with traditional 2D animation. And again, in how it took place within the body, like all of Bill Murray's cells and how they would act accordingly if they were to be compared to the real world.
Right, and it's not like Inner Space. We've seen it before with Inner Space, but that is totally realistic, scientific way of approaching that plot. This one is so cool because it creates its own ecosystem, its own cities, its police force, its entertainment. It's a truly fascinating story.
And William Shatner as mayor of Frank's body.
And then we have David Hyde Pierce as a pill that's supposed to help. But basically, if you haven't seen it, the plot is it starts off in the real world. Bill Murray is kind of a disheveled wreck of a man who doesn't take care of himself because his wife is dead and he's just horribly depressed. He's just kind of slogging his way through oatmeal to steal a line from Miami Vice. And his daughter is trying desperately for him to get off his ass and move on with his life. Try to, and then he's just like eating shit, just eating the worst food. And he picks up something off the ground and picks up some serious, massive bacteria. And that's where our plot switches into the animated world, which is inside of his body.
Yes. And Lawrence Fishburne did an amazing job as the villain. I loved how he was
isn't
cool
he?
And slick.
I love the two. There's two references to movies that had come out recently, and one of them is with him. There's a Matrix fight sequence which has a little bit of influence from the Matrix, but there's also a really funny Titanic sketch where the body's starting to fall apart, it's getting overheated, and the band starts playing. It was so proud to play with you boys.
Yes. or one sequence that I like with Ron Howard. He's an opponent trying to become the mayor of Frank's body.
Yeah.
And it's right near the smelly part of the body. And also the expression, like that smell. That change, Billy. That's the smell of change.
I love it when they're in the movie theater watching his dreams because he's having a fever dream and he's going through all that kind of stuff. And he has that nightmare where he's a grown-up but he's still in school and he doesn't wear his pants to school and everybody's laughing at him. That was hilarious because that's what they watched in the multiplex were his dreams.
I know. I'm like, there has to be something a little more exciting, something brand new from Frank. But
Yeah.
no. And then we had oh gosh, Chris Elliott.
Oh, he
Yes.
was a riot. He's so much fun. He was quite a few Fairly projects for a while.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, he was in Something About Mary. He played Wookie, who was
Yeah, and
Cameron
he's a
Diaz's
sleazy
ex.
guy in Kingpin, the one who tries to offer them to sleep together. So I'll pay you
Yeah.
and your buddy to sleep together for $5,000.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Man, no, again, I've always loved Chris Elliott. I mean, again, like watching him grow up and seeing him like in the like early '90s of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. You know what's funny is I was reading up on that. I have the biography of the whole SNL years. He was never told that he was going to have to write sketches. He assumed since he was already an established star, he was on David Letterman for years. He was in Get a Life for 2 seasons and Cabin Boy. He was even in the other movie with Bill Murray, Groundhog Day. So he was established, and he
Right.
assumed, same thing for Gene Garofalo, they both assumed they were going to go on there, and they wouldn't have to write anything for themselves. Turns out, no, you do, and no one else is going to write anything for you, so they suffered their whole season. In fact, I just watched that season, and Janine Garofalo doesn't even make it to the end. Molly Shannon takes over
I
at
know.
the end of that season.
Yes, I know. Because I
Who's
remember
also
Janine
in
Garofalo
this?
definitely.
Huh,
I think so. Yeah, Molly
yeah.
Shannon. Yeah, she was in Osmosis Jones. She was the teacher.
Yeah, who
Oh
gets
my
puked
god.
on.
That's. Oh yeah. Not only get puked on, but also the zit explodes on her.
Oh yeah, that's so funny though. She goes, "My family is humiliated. We are a joke of this school. My sons Ralph and Chuck get made fun of every day."
I forgot how clever that was when I rewatched that moment. I'm like, oh god. But yeah, no. Again, this and it also this movie also spawned a TV series.
Yeah, I never seen the show. Have you seen it?
I saw a few episodes, yes, when it was on the WB network, and again, it really held up. I mean, yeah, the voices were different. It was kind of hard to tell because I know David Hyde Pierce, like he did do a lot of voice work. He did that. He also did Treasure Planet, and he was also the voice of Abe Sapien in the first Hellboy.
That's
But
right. I forgot Doug Jones, who has almost the same voice. That's the craziest part about it is Doug Jones almost sounds the exact same. So I don't understand what that was about.
yeah, that was weird. I don't know. But anyway, as far as it goes for David Hyde Pierce, like I thought at first it was Kevin Kline for the longest time. Then I'm like looking when I started rewatching, I'm like, oh no, that wasn't him. I was wrong. But he was in El Dorado.
You know,
But anyway,
I had Road to El Dorado and Quest for Camelot confused for some weird ass reason for years. Okay, here it is. The guy who did the animation for Osmosis Jones, he's the one who worked for Richard Williams. I was looking this up. He started off
oh,
actually. Seamus Culhane wrote a really good book on animation because he is one of the only guys. I think actually he might be the only guy to work for every single animated studio during the Golden Age. I mean, all of them, even the shitty ones. Um,
wow,
a legendary guy that only people in like hardcore animation fans seem to know about. Like the common man doesn't know about him, but he worked for everybody. And
damn,
he wrote a great book about the history of all these companies. The stories because he was there at the time. So Tom Cito started off with him. Then he worked for Richard Williams a lot in the beginning. Then he went over to Filmation, started working on Super Friends, Masters of the Universe, and Fat Albert. Then he reteamed with Richard Williams to work on Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
wow, oh okay, damn,
God, he worked on everything. This is crazy. His he doesn't have an IMDb listing here, but I'm just looking. He worked on Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, Pocahontas, Fantasia 2000, and
oh my
Dinosaur.
god,
But in the middle, he went to DreamWorks. He worked on Ants, The Prince of Egypt, Polly, Spirit, Stallion of Cimarron, and then started working on Shrek, and then got moved over to work on Osmosis Jones. And then he also worked on Looney Tunes Back in Action, Garfield, Son of the Mask. Oh my God,
Ooh.
that's amazing! I never even heard of this guy until this moment.
I know, I'm like this guy deserves a lot of credit. I mean, just like when you look at when you see credits on a Batman film, it now says Bill Finger. Like that dude's name needs to be fucking credited,
Yeah,
big time.
he's now an author. He's a historian now of animation. He's kind of walked away from that world.
Oh
Yeah, so
wow,
Seamus Culhane,
that's great.
worked for Fleischer, Ub Iwerks, Walt Disney, Walter Lantz, J.R. Bray. I could have swore he worked for. I'm almost certain he worked for Warner Brothers. Oh yeah. He
Jeez.
worked briefly for the Chuck Jones unit at Warner Brothers. Then he went over to
Mhm.
Woody Woodpecker, and wow, then worked in some Russian avant-garde animation, and then Paramount
Bye.
Studios. This is amazing. But damn it, I want his book. Where the fuck's his book? He's from Portland. Or lived in Portland. Aw, son of a bitch. I got this little exercise thing I use for my hand, and I just snapped it in half.
Oh.
I only paid a few bucks.
You worked it too hard, kid. You went too hard on the grip.
I'm going to get you the name of this book. Stall for me. Jacob, just fill in.
Okay.
I got to find this, damn it. It's a really good book.
Okay. Well, honestly, that man definitely deserves so much accreditation. And looking at all the sequences in Osmosis Jones, again, the pill himself, the cold pill, Drix, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he called him Drips as a nickname, but Drix, however, yeah, was like completely CG, and again, how it blended like so well, even with the mouth movements, it's like kind of. Again, I don't know how he made it work beautifully.
Yeah.
Between him and Osmosis Jones.
This was a time whenever they threw CGI. I mean, this is a decade of throwing CGI into an animated movie where it sticks out like a sore thumb. This one melds really well with it. Okay, I got it. It's Talking Animals and Other People, The Legendary Figures of Animation by Seamus Culhane. You can get it cheap, too. Hardback, $10 on Amazon. I read this like 15, 16 years ago. It's really good.
Uh-huh. Okay, I'll have to look it up for sure. And I also go to I try to go to Barnes & Noble as often as possible, so yeah, I'll have to look it up there.
It's out of print, but the library might have it. But they might also be able to order it for you. So.
Okay, good. There's hope!
There's hope for us all. Osmosis Jones is the only one of the 4 movies we're going to discuss today that does not have songs. This is when they started moving away. I think Tarzan was the first movie to really say, look, let's not do songs. We can have music in it. Songs created for our movie, but our characters don't break out into song.
Right. I know. Heck, they even Flynn, writer, mentioned that in Tangled. It's like he's suddenly weirded out. It's like, why is everybody breaking out in a song? He is a character within the movie breaking the fourth wall, saying, "What the hell is this shit?" Oh man, I know. Seriously, yeah, no. Again, that's another thing too. Yeah, shortly after that, yeah, no Disney movies were breaking out into song or singing and dancing and all that. And speaking of Tarzan, oh god, I love what Phil Collins did. Those were great songs.
God, we gotta do that. We were planning on doing that too. The action movement of the late '90s, early 2000s, because we had. I thought about adding Osmosis Jones to it, but we have Tarzan, Atlantis, Treasure Planet. Titan AE, and then it kind of caps off with Final Fantasy. Then the action stuff kind of faded away, and everything became Shrek. Just it's all the same patterns, pop culture references.
Yeah.
What was it? There's a couple pop culture references in Quest for Camelot that I thought were bullshit, and I was like, nah, doesn't work.
I don't know. I'll have to look.
Well,
maybe I don't know. I'll have to watch Quest for Camelot. I probably missed a few.
What was I gonna say? I can't remember now. What was it? Who does the songs for Osmosis Jones? Was that Nelly? Because I feel like that's when he was red hot. It's getting hot in here. And then Lil Jon. What?
Well, I know Chris Rock and Joe C were the ones who they're singing in the songs in the club.
Oh, okay.
And Uncle Cracker as well, but
Uncle
I don't know
Cracker. Fuck.
I take it you like him so much.
Yes, Uncle Cracker and Kid Rock and go fuck themselves and Kid Rock especially. What a douche.
Yeah, no, Jesus Christ. Yeah. There's that one meme of him going, why does Kid Rock look like Dr. Phil dressed up as Halloween for Kid Rock?
Ball with the ball, anyway. The bang, diggy, diggy.
Oh, yes. Before he went country.
Yes. Hey, so this is pretty much the end of this episode. I know I lied to you guys because I'm a rotten little fucker. We said we were going to do the Hanna-Barbera cartoons and work our way up, and I'm just a dildo. It's just whatever pops in my head I feel like doing. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know. I'm sorry that I'm a dick, and I thought I would screw things up for you. Jacob, flip a coin. Are we going to do some more animated movies, or are we going to do the Hanna-Barbera? What do you want to do? It's your call.
Well, I've already watched the animated movies, so yeah, let's
which one?
Hanna-Barbera.
Okay, so we'll come back later and do DreamWorks and Blue Sky and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do, I broke this down in my head. Probably one episode for Hanna-Barbera in the 60s. We'll just do like a smorgasbord where we run through, we just watch a little bit of everything. Because we already did Jetsons and Flintstones, so we can take that out. So like the Yogi Bear, Huckleberry Hound, stuff like that. Then there's probably going to be 2 episodes in the 70s because that's when they really start ramping up production. And hold off on Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo's going to be separate. So we'll do 2 in the 70s,
Okay.
and then we'll do a couple in the 80s because they did crazy amount of stuff in the 80s as well. So I'm just telling you right now, Jacob, we go into Hanna-Barbera, it's going to be like the rest until summer. We're going to be doing like 6 out of these episodes.
Right.
You want to hold my hand and take this journey with me?
Oh, sure, but hey, there'll be no use in case I'm getting upset at all my any of these failures because I'm the one that fucked up. I trusted you.
I mean, obviously, we are going to take a pause in the middle because we do have some other stuff we want to do. I want to do the Hellboy movies, including the animated ones, for our other podcast, Comics on Infinite Earths. We've been holding off on the Death of Superman trilogy because that's my fault. We got to do those. So this is going to be scattered throughout. So we'll give you episodes, but it's not going to be as consistent as it used to be.
Yeah. Well, honestly, Michael, we're the ones. Well, I'm pretty sure the audience is the ones that fucked up because they trusted you.
Yeah, you trusted me there, but you fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Why'd you trust me, you bunch of dildos?
Why, God? Why? Why did you do this to us?
Oh yeah, and I forgot we're gonna do the Major League movies too. So we do a lot of other stuff, so we don't get sick of doing this show. I know. How could I possibly get sick of animation? You guys are frauds. I get sick of everything. It's just who I am. I get sick of jobs. I get sick of relationships. The fact that I've even been holding on to Jacob as long as I have shocks me. It must be because he's fucking
Hot
awesome.
tamales candy. Hot tamales candy. I get really sick of that quickly. And black licorice.
Yeah. All right, that is it for us here. Check us out on Facebook under Back in Toons and on Twitter under Retro Rocket Entertainment. That is the master production company for all our podcasts. And that's it.
All right, everybody. Have a good night. Namaste and good luck.
Be excellent
Michael?
to each other. My little petunia.